the interest rates and inflation will remain quite high. Second is the food inflation. The basket of an ordinary Pakistani consists of 40% of food. And here, in economic matters, you have winners and losers. Gentlemen and ladies, 500 billion rupees have been transferred from the urban consumers to the rural producers because of the high prices of all edibles, commodities, food grains, and other agriculture produce. They are the winners who therefore have received higher incomes. The rural prosperity is evident. You travel any part of the rural Punjab or rural Sindh, you will find evidence of prosperity. Where are the consumer goods being sold? Where are the motorcycles being sold? The demand is all coming from the rural areas because the urban areas have become poorer. And within the urban areas, it is the fixed income groups, the salaried class, the widows, the pensioners, and the poor who are suffering. So there is no uniform single effect of the economic policies. This is the point I want you to understand. Economic policies create winners and the losers. Right now, you and I are the losers, but my cousin living in a village is a winner because his incomes have really gone up. What is inflation? Inflation is that if I used to pay 27 rupees for a kilo of sugar, now I pay 54 rupees or 60 rupees for a kilo of sugar. That's inflation. That is my consumption, but it is somebody's production. And that somebody's production is the income for that individual. This is how you should think about. What is an interest rate? An interest rate is the saving of somebody who puts in the national savings scheme, a pensioner, a widow, in the Behbood certificate and gets 14%, 13%, and 12%. That is the income of that individual. Yes, the businessman has to pay 17%, but you must think that savings are always motivated by the interest is a price, while those who are consuming the savings have to pay more. The third factor on the interest rates is that most of the deposits in the banking sector are being kept in current account, which are non-remunerative, which have zero return. So if you have 100 deposits, out of which 50 of them have zero return, the weighted average rate of deposit is going to be low because people are not putting it in savings deposits, they are not putting in the time deposits, they are putting it in the current deposits. So please try to understand there is not one single factor which is responsible for the spreads of the banks. The banks are competing. The first 10 years of the banking reforms, the share of the top 5 banks has come down. The share of next 5 banks has actually increased. The market share of the National Bank, Habib Bank, MCB, UBL, and Allied Bank is collectively down. And the share of the next 5 banks is increasing. This is a competitive situation. If you are competing with each other, then you will have to price your deposits so that you can attract the deposits, and you have to price your assets so that you can loan your money. Otherwise, you'll be sitting on a pile of money. So it's a comparative situation. For God's sake, try to educate people that do not invest in current accounts, because you're giving a check to the banks to make money. That, I think, is something which you have to care about. Now, why is it that 17% interest rate is so bad for the business, and the corporate results which I have seen show an average rate of return of 20, 25, 30%? Because the output prices have also increased at a rate much higher than the financing cost. The financing cost, depending on the industry, accounts for only 10 to 15% of the total production costs, total distribution costs, total sales cost, whatever parameter you take. But your output prices have actually increased by the total quantum of inflation. So even if I'm a panwala, I used to sell the pan for 10 rupees. If the inflation is 15%, I will not increase the pan price by 11.5, I'll increase it by 12. So as far as I'm concerned, inflation has done nothing to me. I have just adjusted my prices. So 90% of the population in Pakistan is self-employed. They make adjustment of the prices according to the inflation. So they do not feel the impact. Who feels the impact? As I said, those who are unable to adjust their incomes. 60% of the population is dependent on agriculture commodities. Look at the wheat prices, look at the sugarcane prices, look at the cotton prices, which are internationally determined, and look at the rice prices. We are now third largest exporter of rice in the world. So naturally, these prices are coming in. Look at the pasteurized dairy products. There were, before Nestle, there were very few organized companies which were buying milk from the rural areas. Today, there is too much competition. I went to Chichawatni. In the evening, I was sitting with the farmers, and they said, कि साहब पहले तो हमें खाली नेस्ले वाले जो थे 16 रुपए देते थे, अब हलीब भी आ गया है, अब ये भी आ गया, अब 32 रुपए लीटर मिल रहे हैं. Just by competition, they were able to raise their incomes because the other people had come in. These incomes are not being taxed. That's the source of the public deficits. So 500 billion has gone from the urban areas to the rural areas, but every single rupee in agriculture incomes is exempt. They don't pay any taxes. So in any economy, when the incomes go up, a part of that income comes to the government. In this case, you have a boom in the agricultural economy, in the rural economy, but the government is not benefiting. You have $10 billion of remittances coming to this country, which is 850 billion rupees. And these are also coming to Attak, to Chakwal, to Jhelum, to arid areas of Pakistan, which are not very advanced. These are all backward areas, and I'm very happy that they are sending the money to all these people. 850 billion, they are tax exempt. They don't pay any taxes at all. But they provide purchasing power to the families of the workers who have received the remittances to go and buy goods. And because they have the purchasing power, the prices of those goods go up. But they're not paying anything to the government. So government gets zilch. The third is the exporters. The exports of Pakistani goods this year